Okay.
Oh, all right. Well,
Hi.
good morning. Uh, so this is 2023, January the 10th, and we're starting the first week. This will be week one of a 10-week series where we're going over the laws. And today we're going to be going over the first law, the law of the architect. And my goal in this is to not only help you gain a better understanding of the laws and gain a perspective, my perspective, and everyone has their own perspective because of their unique background, upbringing, and what they've gone through in life to get them to where they're at, but to see how the laws intertwine. One of the things that I've learned as a coin carrier now in my year three, that I wish I would have known in year one is the laws are connected. And if you can see how the laws are connected, it provides a great benefit to you, because it allows you to see how things are building upon each other. And just like we're trying to build generational wealth, you don't go from having no money to generational wealth unless you win the lottery. So it is a process. So the laws are put in an order for a reason. And this is my attempt to, go through the laws and talk about the laws and how they are connected. So in the law of the architect, I'm not going to discuss as much in depth of the law, but I'm going to talk about some high level stuff with the law. So the law of the architect is really to help you as a business owner, entrepreneur, executive, whatever your role might be, is to understand what your skills are, what your why is, and how it can propel you into being better. But if you're an entrepreneur, you've started a business, but you may not be a CPA, you may not be a lawyer, you may not be a real estate agent, which I know you are.
Yeah.
But there are skills that in your business that you lack. So you have to, we'll discuss that next week, and that's, the law of exchange.
Mm.
So it's good to do an audit of what you're the architect of, what your vision is, and what your goals are. Because your vision is what you're looking to accomplish. Your goals are a way to measure in between the start and the end goal. But I don't think there's really ever a true end unless you exit the
Fair enough.
business. But and I'm going to refer to this over the next 10 weeks is the law of the architect is an anchor point. It's always it's your true north. It's what you're coming back to. So you can add links to the chain and get away from this, but you always got to know where your anchor's set and how to come back to it, because this builds upon everything else. And over the next 10 weeks is hopefully I'm going to build a web, like I like calling them dream catchers. And this is the architect. So we're creating that first outer web. And then over the next 10 weeks, we're going to bridge one side to another and create this this web that we can put up in front of us and go through life. What passes through is meant to pass through, but what hits the web, whether it be the law of the architect, law of exchange, principle of presence, and the other laws that we'll discuss, is how we're supposed to do business. And that is when you get into some of the later laws, you're going to see there's a lot of stuff that you can pass. If you allow it to pass through, you're not wasting time. But so many times when I've had calls with other coin carriers or other people inside the alliance, I've found that people are always worried about time. They never have enough time to do this. But when we do an audit of the time, it's just time is wasted on stuff that you're not skilled at. So this is why the law of the architect is so critical. So we'll keep it, to something I know, which is my own business. So yes, I am a W-2 employee for a large electrical distributor. But I also own a company. I actually own two companies that work in the same arena. But the goal for those companies is to connect people. to provide solutions that want to work outside the norm, because business is changing and people are looking for new avenues. And I'm looking to try to capitalize on my relationships, my network, to grow that. So when I came in the Alliance, I always said I was the energy guy. If you needed to save energy on a project, I was your guy. And over my time in the Alliance, through this amazing education that we get, I've learned I'm not the energy guy. I'm the guy that likes leveraging my talents, my skills, and my network to benefit others. Because as I go through life, I don't like going through life alone. And I want to ascend the mountain and have that breathtaking view when I get to the summit and share it with a lot of other people. But how can I do that if I'm not the architect? Because my summit is not someone else's summit. But if I can create a vision and people want to buy in and work alongside me to help me achieve that, then they may achieve their own generational wealth by going to their own summit. And there was a great story that I heard. Tyler Perry was at a church in Dallas, I think, and he said, don't worry about the people that fall out of your life, because if you watch a rocket take off and go into outer space, you have rockets, you typically 4 rockets on there or 3, and they fall off at a certain point in time because they can only take you to a certain height, but their job is done and they fall away. It's not their job to go all the way to the summit with you. And that's how, again, exchanging time. But for me, when I leverage my network, my skills, my talents to benefit others, is I like being a solutions provider. In energy, I'd like to think I'm in the top 5% of at least the US. I'm sure there are people across the world that are, do better than I do, but in the US, I'm probably in the top 5% in my skill. And it's because I've been able to build a network around me that allows me to do that. But I'm the architect of providing solutions for people. People come to me because they know that I don't put the almighty dollar in front of the relationship. I put the relationship in front of the almighty dollar. Right. So for me, that is creating a level of trust and allowing me to be the architect for them when they're looking to, have a skill or something brought to what they're trying to build. So I've found out how I can be the architect in that. So in doing that, you always have to look at what the why statement is or what your passion is. And when you can do that, you're really helping develop what you're the architect of. Now, as we talked earlier before we hit record, you're in real estate, but you talked about a couple other things. So what does the architect look like for you when you say a 3-year goal or a 5-year goal? Or is real estate your passion, or is it a means to something else? So that's a question that you have to ask yourself. So when you're looking at those nuances of the architect, you have to, say, what am I good at? Am I good at math? Yes. But am I a CPA? No. Am I good at contracts? Yes. But am I a lawyer? No. I have a CPA that I pay, and that's me borrowing time. I have a lawyer on retainer. So, I have people that work with me to make sure that I can free up all the time that I need to focus on what I need to. That way I can achieve, as Dan talks about, our Viceroy on the call, it's how I can make my earnings, my annual earnings, within 20 to 25 hours a week. And then I can build my dollars in the rest of the time. And that's time management. So in the architect, if you know what you're good at and you allow other people around you to be a part of your team to excel where they're at, it's not only going to allow them the opportunity to thrive and grow, but it's also going to create a sense of trust, because you're not looking at them, you're not micromanaging them, you're not trying to come up top, but you're collaborating. And your collaboration of not knowing, coming in as a novice, and them being an expert may allow them, as the architect of what they're doing or their craft, to excel or to see a new perspective. And that's the thing about this is everyone in the alliance has a perspective. And some people have different perspectives. It's not that they're wrong. It's just was brought to them by what life has dealt them up to that point. And it's how do you take that and move that forward to build value for others? Because
Right.
the people that I spend the most time with are high achievers, but they're also the ones I know their backstory, and I know how many times they've gotten knocked down, but I've seen they've gotten up more times than they've been knocked down.
Right.
That they are not a subject to circumstance, but they are a champion of life happening to them. Because it's always going to happen. Every single day we wake up to fires that need to be put out. But I'm the firefighter of bringing connections. Someone calls me up and says, "Hey, I need this." Either I can provide it or I have a source to provide it for them. And if I cannot provide it or I don't have a source, I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't have that. I wish I could help you." You need to, cut ties, look at your cycle, open cycles, and move past, because it's a business. To build generational wealth, it's not relationships. It is part of your net worth, your network is, but it's how we're able to scale from that point. And if someone's trying to make money or I'm trying to make money, I need to have is the information that's available to me at that time to make a decision. Now we'll use past experiences plus current information to make a sound decision that I have to live with. But when people hold that away from me because they don't think I'm the architect of something, or if I don't make it clear of what I'm the architect of, they may say, "Oh, well, he's not the person that can digest that information. We need to talk to someone else."
Right.
So when in your business and in your relationships, you have to make it very clear of what you're the architect of, what you're clear, and who your team is, because your team is a part of what you're an architect of, but your team allows them to be experts in that to allow you to achieve your visions. Um, but with that, I'm going to pause for just a moment because I'd love to get your thoughts, because hopefully you've heard the law of the architect and
Yeah.
what you're hearing and how it may pertain to what you see in your current situation.
Well, myself, I have heard the law of the architect, and it's interesting the way that you're kind of going over it about auditing everything and setting those goals and coming back as an anchor point. And I don't know, you're giving me a lot to think of here because right now I am the architect of my business and what I'm trying to accomplish and what I'm trying to build. But I need to get very clear with that is what I'm hearing. And I need to know exactly, those goals and the end point. Like what really hit me was what you said, is it a means to something else? Is this just, a pathway to something different, something bigger? So that's actually got my wheels turning now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I think I need to reflect on a little bit more to see where I am going with everything. Um, yeah, it's making me step back is what this is starting to get me to do, and really hone in on the connections and everything that I have, and to see how to move forward. Really,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what
Yeah.
it's a lot in like few minutes here. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that this is really meant to do is to help gain a perspective. And, as I said at the beginning of this, is I wish I would have known how well the laws were connected when I first was receiving them every 7 to 10 days, whatever that was, because I was so excited because I'm a to-do list guy. Like I love checking out stuff. I still have a written calendar Yes, I have, a couple cell phones right here.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm on a computer, there's a calendar there, the phones are synced to it, but I still have a written calendar because that's for me, it allows me to see everything right there.
Yeah.
And I can write it down and I use, blue and black ink for, different things. But it allows me to see that. But being the architect, and you will hear, if you haven't heard it already on the monthly calls, but and other things, is how can you borrow time? Because as we get into these laws, um, and as you get further into it, you hear about, active hours. You and I have the exact same amount of hours every
Yeah.
single week. There's no person on earth that has more hours than you or I. So we can only make so much money with our active hours. I cannot scale my hours that I have to make more money because I'm not given more hours. But if I can borrow other people's time, whether it be 10 hours or, that allows me to scale time. But if I'm not clear in my vision of what I'm trying to accomplish, what I'm
Hmm.
trying to build, how can I attract people that I need a CPA, I need a lawyer,
Right.
I need someone that's really good at IT, I really need someone that's good at marketing because I can help paint the picture of what I'm trying to do, but I'm probably only painting a picture that's, 25, 30%. The other 70% has to be built by someone else.
Right.
So I have to be very, very meticulous and become a more proficient at describing and building my passion out for other people to say, yes, I want to be a part of this here. Because in a startup, you may not have capital to just, live on. You may not have investors,
Right.
but investors are going to invest in the people, in the team. And if you're the architect and you put that team around you, they look and say, yes, I want to invest in that team. The idea may suck, but we want to invest in the team because they work so well together. And they may
Yeah.
say, hey, this really sucks, but have you thought about this? And it's a perspective, as different people have achieved in different levels. And so one thing that you and I share outside of being coin carriers is that we're both real estate agents. I've had my license since 2004.
Oh, okay.
I don't do it actively anymore, but it was
Yeah.
nice. Last week, I went and collected a, re- a referral check from two houses that closed in December.
Awesome.
Um,
That's great.
because I just because I referred it out. But I
Yeah.
learned in 2005 I hate driving people around.
Yeah.
But I also said I never want to take this test again.
Yeah.
Um, So now I connect people. I have people, my network is across this entire country and I have connections throughout the world. But when they want to move to Georgia, being a real estate agent, I'm like, I can put you with a full time agent. But a full time agent, to keep it in the context that you and I both know and other people may reflect on as I share this with the group that's a part of this,
Yeah.
is a real estate agent is works for a broker, and a broker brings two people together. Real estate
Right.
agent brings two people together, a buyer and a seller. If you look at my company, ProSense, I bring buyers and sellers together. But in the energy space, water, electricity, wind, solar, EV, that's what I bring together. But in real estate, in most cases, you're going to have an agent, you're going to have a closing attorney, you're going to have a building, or you're going to have a inspector,
Yeah.
and then you're going to have someone that may come out and do a survey,
Right.
depending on what type of property it is. So you got four different people that are all working to make this transaction between the buyer and seller happen. But every single one of those, they're the architect in their own skill sets.
Right.
A mortgage lender does not care one iota about the condition of the building. They only care about the debt to income ratio
Right.
and if they can get the loan approved. If
Yeah.
the loan's not approved, they're not making money. So that's their skill set. But those four individuals, and that's a team. And the goal is to sell a house for someone to buy a house. Someone selling a house has to have someone that's going to buy a house. So
Right.
those two parties need these four other people that are teams. But you might have a mortgage lender, but you might have a loan originator. And you have two different people working on the thing. And then once it goes, in through inspection, you're like, okay, well, what happens if there's water damage, roof damage? Oh, I need a roofer. I need a general contractor. I need an electrical contractor. I need a plumber. So you
Your
can
team
see
gets
how,
bigger.
and that's how you have to look at it. But for you as an agent, you're the architect of facilitating the buyer and the seller. And if that's your passion, how can you put forth that team around you? And if you look at the top tier agents within wherever you're at, they have resources around them say, all right, I need this and I need it quick.
Yeah.
I need to close I got in 30 days, which is, maybe hard in a lot of cases, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you but if someone says I need closed in 30 days because I've already sold my house and the contingency runs up, then you have to get that done. And
Right.
now everyone's working to achieve a goal. But everyone in there is their architect in their own thing. Now they may not be an entrepreneur, but they may be working for a team, and that's fine. The world is not full of entrepreneurs. And as we've heard Dan refer to on the calls, if you've been on enough of them, there are people that graduated from or not graduated, that have retired from Walmart with millions of dollars in the bank because they
Yeah.
invested in the right way. So if they're happy in what they're doing and it allows them a good work-life balance, then allow that to be. But if they want to be a part of your team because they like you and they want to help you be successful because they believe in your vision and growing bigger, then that's the team you need. Because now you're taking being someone that connects a buyer and seller to someone that can help do that, whether it be a loan or an inspection.
Right.
And knowing those things, and every single business has similar nuances. But when you're able to stop, pause, and say, what am I the architect of? And a part of my team who's helping me do the things I'm not skilled at. You know, it may take me an hour to compose an email because I'm not that great with wording or punctuation.
Yeah.
But there are people that can type the same email in 3 minutes. So luckily for me, I've got templates of emails. That I've built over the last couple of years of 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 what I want to say. Now, I try to make it personal, but how can I make it sound relatable? And that's what
Right.
someone else helped me do. And it's utilizing resources that other people are utilizing skill sets that other people may have to help you achieve your goal, but also giving credit where credit's due. So if you hear me on the calls, and this last Monday was the first time I've probably spoken in 2 months on a call, but you have to recognize those people that helped you achieve. Now, they may have only been on that journey with you for 3 or 4 months, but you never forget those people because their journey may take them further than you were expecting or they were expecting, but they may come back to you. But
Right.
that's a sense of gratitude. And the one thing that I always look at, especially with the law of the architect, um, I'm a very confident person in what I do, but there's ability, and here's my humility. Humility will always trump my ability
Mm.
because people want to work with people that are others focused.
Right.
Because if you find people that are others focused, you usually find more people wanting to try to help or provide at least a good balance, not creating an unfair exchange, which we'll get into next week, or a criminal exchange, but create
Yeah.
a fair exchange. And I have more comments on that next week, so I'll try to pause on that. But
All right.
that's what we look at. That's what we look at is in the architect. You have to do that audit. And
Yeah.
again, when I started in the alliance, I was the architect of being the energy guy. But that was so narrow. That was so constricting on me and who I really am. And
Right.
now I say, I'm just someone that's looking to facilitate connections and bring forth solutions for people so they can do business at a higher rate of speed and hopefully do it with more better operational costs in my day-to-day operations. But that's my vision. That's what I'm the architect of. So these are things that we have to look at. And because I say we want to create this as an anchor point, it's always, whether it be 1 month, 6 weeks, 2 months, a quarter, annually, biannually, whatever that may be, you always want to come back and figure out what you're the architect of and make sure that's still aligning with your vision moving forward. So
Right.
those are things that we have to look at on a constant, because your vision allows you to forecast where you're going, but there can be pivots within that. There are a lot of different routes I can take from Atlanta, Georgia to British Columbia. There's I can drive, I could take a boat,
Yeah.
I could fly. But if my vision's getting there, along the journey, I'm going to learn things. If I take a boat, I'm going to learn a lot more things because it's a fairly distant. I can get on a boat down here
Yeah.
in the Gulf, go through the Panama Canal, come around.
Make your way
So there's a lot
around.
of things. Yeah. If I get in a car, you know, I'm going to learn something. And if I ask people, hey, how do you get here? By being vulnerable enough to say, hey, I'm the architect of this here. I'm the architect of getting to British Columbia. And people are going to give me advice. And if I look at that advice as me borrowing time, because they have years of experience, years of knowledge that can help that journey be better, those are the same things that we look at in our own journeys of being the architect of whatever it is that we are, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a W-2 employee, whether you're in a hybrid mode like I am. But it's funny, like I like to say I'm very blessed and I've achieved some things and I might be better off than others. That's for other people to determine. I may be worse off than others. That's
Yeah.
for someone else to decide, not me. But for me, knowing where that journey has led me, I always look to say, how can I stay engaged more on a regular basis? Because for me, in the solutions of connecting buyers and sellers, how do I connect with more people? How do I continue to build that network and my net worth by building my network? Because that's kind of built into my architectural thing, and what I'm the architect of. Is because
Right.
I used to say I'm the social butterfly here within the alliance, but I've kind of taken a back seat to allow other people to flourish and shine. But that way I can be more intentional and have calls like this here where I can help almoners learn the laws a little bit better and gain a new perspective. It's not that I'm right, but it's a perspective. Because you'll hear Dan talk about, you'll actually get the recordings, and over the next 10 weeks, you'll have attachments of the laws and types, so you can make notes on it. You can read through it because everybody learns differently. So those are unique points. Hey, Rachel.
Hi. I'm really sorry to interrupt. Matt, we had the invitation. It was for tomorrow.
It was updated, and because everything's on the Tuesday.
The invitation is for tomorrow, and Heather has also put in the chat as well. I'm just jumping in because I've got other appointments today. So
you're fine. Well, I'm recording this call, so you're all right. So you're not going to miss a thing. I will make sure you will not miss a thing.
Okay,
But
fantastic.
this is
Sorry.
the call will be Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern
Right,
Standard Time.
right.
Every Tuesday for the next 10 weeks.
I'm so sorry. I've
Oh,
got
no,
it.
no, no. Hey,
From the,
life happens. Life happens. And I'm
I got it for
recording these
tomorrow.
calls, so you're not going to miss anything.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna jump off
Yes.
and get to my
Yes.
appointment.
Okay.
Pleased to meet
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Well, and that might explain some of it, because I know when we originally were doing this, I was like, oh, the 11th. But with my schedule, I was like,
Yeah.
I try to carve out time. And that's why I have a written calendar, is because like when I write it down in ink, I use ink.
Yeah.
And if I for a reason, is because I can't erase it. I can white it out, but I have to be very intentional about that.
Mm,
And I was like, oh well, I'm seeing stuff, 6 weeks out, 10 weeks out. You know, my calendar. I look, from now until July, it's pretty packed. Like I was hoping to be in Pensacola this weekend, but there's a lot of stuff going on where I couldn't make that happen. But
right.
again, in the architect, I was spending a lot of my time trying to appease everybody, be everywhere all the time, because
Right.
maybe I had some fear of missing out, some FOMO. But once I started getting better at my managing my calendar, managing my time, and managing my team, it allowed me more freedoms to think about bigger, more audacious goals to go after. And then I can project those, or I can provide that vision to the team, say, hey, this is what we're looking to go after. And we're going to put forth so many hours a week, a month, a year to go after these. But if something hits, it hits. If it doesn't hit, it was a stretch goal. But if we're not, but I was so concerned about tomorrow that I wasn't thinking about 6 months from now. But now that
Right.
I do a better job managing my time, I can look at 6 months from now, a year from now, with a lot of confidence versus looking at being worried about tomorrow. And that allowed, one of the things for me in the architect of my own business, but that has also transpired into other things that I do. It's that management of time that allows me to really meet the expectations of those around me as the founder, as the CEO of a company. But but the nice thing about me being a W-2 employee, also being having a title of the CEO, is what I talked about: ability, humility.
Right.
There are a lot of CEOs that are not have a bad persona. I haven't met them all, so I won't speak bad about them. But have a persona of not being others focused, or that they have allowed their ability to trump their humility, or they're unapproachable. But by me being of service and working with a team, it allows me to stay connected to that. During this chapter, it may not be forever, but it's through this chapter that I need to, make sure that I'm connected to the things that give me that drive, where I can meet people on a daily basis, weekly
Right.
basis, a monthly basis, that help me really see the nuances of different things, because life changes for everybody, and everybody's circumstances is different than the person you talked to yesterday or the day before. So you have to meet them where they're at and be intentional to that. And that's why, in these first 10 laws, we'll also go over the principle of perseverance or principle of present. Because when we're in that moment with someone and being intentional with our time, it yields higher results, because what we
Yeah.
focus on is what we achieve. But we're focused on 10 things, when I could shed the CPA, the lawyer stuff, the IT stuff, the marketing stuff to someone else. If I'm trying to do all that, I cannot be in that moment, and I can't focus on what I need to focus on. And that's what this law really helps set that, again, the anchor point for us to build on upon over the next 10 weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. There's a starting point. Like you said, it's an
Yeah.
anchor point, actually. So
Mm-hmm.
everything, and for myself, the ultimate goal is bringing a buyer and seller together.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there are pieces in play and people behind that. So that's me building that for
Mm-hmm.
that ultimate goal. So it's really neat. Again, totally twisting my perspective on the whole thing. It's in a good way, in a total good
Yeah.
way. But it's because what I'm trying to do right now is revamp everything. So because the market has shifted the way it has, it's given me an opportunity to step back and to look at everything from 10,000 feet and to reposition. And like you said, I don't have, or we all have the same amount of time. So I have to use that time more efficiently. So I also don't want to be run silly because I've done that before and, work 25 out of the 24 hours a day. And I don't, I'm getting too old for that. And
Yeah.
I have my family as well. And that's, 1,000% the most important. And my calendar has my family time in there, non-negotiable now, which was a tough lesson over the last few years, but I definitely follow that now. So yeah, this is interesting. I have some work to do.
Yeah. And the one thing about this here is I think those that can truly be others focused are really the champions of this law. It's not that others cannot be, but but I also think if you're in the alliance, you're not a greedy person or a selfish person. I mean, we all have those, can be at times. We're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
I think this right here, when you can see that perspective, when you're sitting down at a restaurant, like, at least twice a week, I go to a restaurant and just sit down at the bar and I start conversations with the people sitting next to me. And it's amazing who I will meet. But because
That's awesome.
I know what I'm the architect of, and I know what I'm looking for. It's amazing how people say you're just lucky or it's coincidence. No, it's because I know what I'm looking for. I can have a conversation, but I can have a conversation for 3 minutes and shut it down and move on to another conversation if I don't see where it's at. And it's not to say that person doesn't have that skill set that I'm looking for, but they may be so caught up in other things that's not what their passion is. That's not what they're looking to do with their time. It's it's what they have to do with their time. It's not what they're looking to do with their time. So if they have any free time, they're not going to put it in there. But in this market in real estate, when you sit down, you say, "Well, I'm looking at this here," or you're going to learn. You know, what's the new metrics? What's the new loan rates? What are there any new metrics to qualifying for a loan? Are there interest only loans? Are there different things? You're going to meet an inspector that's just moved into the area and is looking to grow, and because maybe he had a death in the family, he had to come back or something, whatever it may be. But when you can be intentional, or you can be sitting down with someone and say, "Yeah, my work brought me here, and in 3 months I got to move here. So right now we're just up here prospecting." But if you're not in the moment to be intentional with a conversation, those opportunities where some people say coincidence or luck happens, those things just fly right by. But when you're intentional and you know what you're good at, you say, "You know what? I forgot my card, but here's my," and this is one thing that you do. LinkedIn's great. Have your LinkedIn profile, have the
Right.
QR code pulled up. Hey, scan this right here. If you need help, I'd love to try to help you out. If I'm not the guy for you, maybe I can connect you with someone else. And even if you connect them with another agent, you still get the referral.
Right.
So how can you constantly grow your business? By leveraging the talents and skills of other people, but putting yourself in that time. And those are the things that allow you to say, all right, well, I'm constantly looking for these people because the time is limited on them as well. So I need 3 more people that can help do appraisals, or I need 3 more inspectors, or 2 more loan officers.
Right.
And when you put that out and say, all right, these are things I'm looking for to level up, it's amazing how quickly you will find them because now you're focused on them. But if you're not aware that
Right.
you need to focus on it, they just pass you by.
That's true. It's like seeing, like buying the red Corvette. Now you see red Corvettes everywhere. You're
Yep.
very hyper focused, right? And very intentional, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, and this is, I'm going to encourage over the next 10 weeks that, you revisit these laws, and whether you read them, you make notes on it, you listen to it, go back and listen to it. Or you can go back and listen to this here and pick out little nuggets. Again, this is my perspective.
Yeah.
And it was funny to hear Dan talk about it last Monday. He was like, these laws, when they were first presented to him, they were short, like maybe a paragraph. And now, like, the laws are, like, I'm looking at the law of the architect on another screen and it's 3
Yeah.
pages long because the stories and how you can take that story of being a business owner, whether you're a real estate agent, a pilot, whatever it is, what you can take that story, make it your own, makes it relatable. And when you become relatable to people, people want to do business with you because you've opened yourself up and said, hey, this is what I'm the architect of. This is how I want you to relate to me. And if we align, we're going to work together. Because as we come into alliance, what's the thing that you have to text after the discovery call?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, go back and check your text, but it says you should text I align to move on to the next steps. Or at least it
Oh,
was, when I came in.
okay. Yeah, I haven't received that.
Yeah. Well, it was
Okay.
been before you even, gotten to see the laws. It was,
Right.
the first call with the viceroy and like, hey, but I remember I still have that text on my phone somewhere because I think I screenshotted it. But it's like, hey, I align. Because we have to find alignment with other people. But and as I think it's one of the last laws that we'll go over is the law of the 2 rabbits. And that, it's one of the last laws that we'll go over as a group of the 10. But as you get further and further away into the laws, that's why it's so important to know that this is your anchor point to come back to it. Because you can always, when you get new knowledge, you always want to apply it. But the more you can go back to what you know and make it second nature, like, I have the law up on the screen next to me, but I'm not reading it. I'm making it a conversation because it's become more applicable in my life, and hopefully it will become more applicable in your life. And as I talked about a little bit earlier, I want to build a web that you can put in front of you as you go through life. And there's a lot of stuff that's going to flow right through that you're not going to catch. But the stuff that is caught is meant to be there. Is how do you use that information, or how do you use those resources to the best of your ability to allow you to gain more influence in a market that will help you gain more income, which will hopefully in turn to generational wealth. Right. So, but
That's awesome.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up. So again,
Perfect.
this is the week 1 Law of the Architect, January the 10th, 2023. This will be the the first of a 10-week series to help the almoners gain a better perspective of how the laws are intertwined. And my goal as a maven is to teach the laws, to impart wisdom of the laws of my own insights. And then hopefully when they come to their 1 year mark is that they will become a maven in their own right. And they can share this time with other people. But thank you so much. And have a
Awesome.
great day.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. Okay, stop recording or whatever.